Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. You might notice something a little different about the show tonight. I think I've managed to get both chats on the screen from Rumble and YouTube on both streams. It's a little funky, but I think it works. It looks like it works. So we'll see if we can... I'll obviously have CSS work to do to make it look prettier. But I got both chats, a little white bar in between separating them, so something new for everyone to play with. Anyway, I'm TUES, and with me today, as always, my two favorite people in the world, Terry DeMantis.
Hello.
And Jen T. Maxey.
Hello.
How you doing today, Jen?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am well. Terry?
Yeah, I'm all right.
It's going to be a good night, I think. Everything worked perfectly on my... I went to set the stream, and everything was already set right. I didn't have to do anything, and that almost never happens. I know. So, I don't know, knock on wood. I get some wood here. There we go. Knock on wood. Everything's going to go well. Got a couple of topics. I spent most of the day looking around for topics. I really couldn't find anything that was really juicy. That sounded dirty. Only thing I can really come up with was... the IWD is the International Women's Day is today. That's kind of like kind of something. And then the release of the Tucker files, showing that January 6th was pretty much not an invasion after all, and not an insurrection. That was just more of a tour guide situation for most people. So yeah, every left-wing website that deals with news, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, CNN, are all saying how awful it was that he showed you
the truth
videos.
Yeah.
You're messing with our democracy by showing people what actually happened, by being transparent.
With the Women's Day thing, the best thing to come out of that was Hershey's releasing their Hershey.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that. I should have added that to the show.
And the reason that is so good is because it made the Daily Wire release their own brand of chocolate.
Yeah, she, her, and he, him.
Yeah.
One of them has nuts, but you'll have to guess which one.
No, it's like, if you need us to tell you which one, keep giving your money to Hershey's.
And apparently they made a lot of chocolate. And they sold it all out already.
Yeah. Knowles was saying that on the Whatever podcast, because like he turned up and like they're like, did you bring books and chocolate? He's like, oh, I didn't bring anything. And he's like, then he mentioned, we made like 20 tons of chocolate and it's all gone.
Were you as surprised as I was to see Knowles on Whatever? I was like, who's that? That guy looks just like Knowles. What the hell's... That's not Michael. Is that Michael? That is Michael. Holy shit. I just never expected... He's fairly stuffy. He's not quite as stuffy as Walsh is, but he's a pretty stuffy guy. And to see him on kind of a Wild Wild West podcast, like Whatever, is like...
A trashy podcast, I think. Let's call it what it is.
It is definitely... there's not a lot of rules on that show, and it's a dating podcast, so that's all it's about. It's all about how how dating works and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really see anybody being what's the word I'm looking for, uncontrolled. It's not like anything, but they're just they what they're talking about. It's kind of.
But no, do you want to know the real reason that they had Knowles on? Because he'd made that controversial statement about transgenderism at CPAC. And so they knew that if they get the girl who like stormed off when the other guy said something transphobic and have her on the same...
Kiko?
Kiko. If they have her and Knowles on the same podcast, they know things are going to get heated. That's the reason that they had them both on the same night. That's just, marketing.
Yeah. Well, he said that Brian said that on the show that they usually get 2,500 concurrent viewers, and they had 8,000 concurrent viewers. I was like, a part of that is the controversy, but part of that is just having Knowles on the show, because who would expect to see Michael Knowles on that show? Nobody. You know, so when he's on there, I was like, what the hell is he doing? I got to watch this, you know, something's going to happen. Kind of deal.
So I watched 4 of the 5 hours. There's still one more left for me to watch.
So I can tell you what's going to happen, and it's going to happen to them exactly the same thing that happened to Crayola. So Hershey's, they really did stick their foot in it, because as somebody who sells chocolate, it's a store. I sell chocolate. They mass produced a shit ton of chocolate before they launched this shit. And like Crayola, with their skin tone crayons, they're going to sit on the shelf for 3 years until they have to get rid of them. That's what's going to happen.
No. Couldn't happen to a better company.
I couldn't agree more, because it's
they are the latest Disney.
Yeah.
It is.
I've got no sympathy for them.
I don't either. And in all honesty, I side with the Japanese at this point. I do. I am going to side with them, because these small minority of people keep forgetting that the rest of the world exists too.
So what I heard from that is Jen supports the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Sure. But I just listen. They've been pushing this whole, you don't understand what it's like. I understand perfectly that there's a group of people who think that the whole world revolves around them, and they speak on behalf of everybody else, and they don't. They speak on behalf of themselves. Hershey made a mistake, and you're gonna have to own it, Hershey, because in all honesty, a lot of people could use the diet. In all honesty, some of those women could use the diet. And 2, I've always questioned Hershey, because like a lot of companies, they source their chocolate from places that are questionable. Their chocolate itself is questionable. Also, when they change the packages, I question whether or not they changed the product, because all that changes on the packages is the bunnies and the Christmas shit and the Halloween shit. It's the same candy.
My position has always been, companies should not have political opinions. Like Hershey's as a company should not be for or against any political issue. They should sell chocolate and focus all their efforts on selling chocolate, because all they're going to do is alienate half their customer base if they take a side on any controversial issue.
I already hold the idea that if you come out with a political opinion, I drop buying you. I don't buy stuff. Like, I don't buy Ben and Jerry's anymore. I used to buy Cherry's Garcia like once a month. I was kind of hooked on it. You know, I didn't want to eat too much and gain weight, but I always had some in the freezer for when I felt like it. There was always some in there, but they came out being political, so I dropped them. And the same thing for Hershey's. Now the thing about Hershey's is chocolate makes me ill. So I wasn't really eating their chocolate very often, but I won't buy any. That's for sure.
No, I mean, back when I was using those fast food services, I stopped using Menulog permanently, because I went to their website and there was a big pop-up saying support the Ukraine. It's like, no, I don't want to support the Ukraine. I want to order dinner.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask Mash something, because I had a lot of fun this week, mostly because I caught people's premieres in the middle of their premieres and said some things that I was proud of. But so there was a little bit of drama this week with Blair White, because she's a bit of a thirst trap for some of the conservative men. And they're some conservative men like trannies. They happen to have a thing for trannies, and you get the odd uber Christian who's like, if you go for a tranny, then you're going to go to hell, and then going after Blair White because she's promoting something that's going to send people to hell, and then you look down this lady's page a little bit and you realize that she thirst traps men too. She just doesn't have a ding dong. And I'm like, why is it okay for you to do it and not Blair White? And
There's
I'm
a
like,
real problem with the right in the States is that you have people who are on the right, and then you have the religious right.
Yeah.
They're two different groups, and the religious right filters people through their belief in God, and it's you can't separate the two. You can't separate the right from the religious right. So it's I don't like the religious people doing that either. I don't like anybody demonizing trannies just because their lifestyle is different. But people
like,
who
yeah.
are religious do that. It's just what it is.
I still appreciate that. Like, and we found out about this because of my boy Pat. Like, he was calling her out on his stream, and then we just scrolled down far enough down her page. I'm like, oh, you do it too. Oh, throwing stones in glass houses, are we?
Yeah.
But I just I was cheering for Blair because I saw that post as her taking the piss out of multiple people. It wasn't just the Christians that she was taking a shot at, because she does. She owns the fact that there's parts of the Conservative Party that will never take her in because of who she is.
Yeah.
But I cheered for her because she was also calling out Dylan and a couple of the other trans community.
Mulvaney, yeah.
Mulvaney's, because while I appreciate that she has gone through stuff to make herself look more effeminate, there's this kink that they have lately where they really want to show off their penis when they're wearing the dress. And I was like, listen, I don't mean to call it out, but that's called a kink. And it's like how I don't like to see feet on Twitter. I don't want to see your penis in a dress either, because that is in fact a kink. And so she posted this lovely picture of her being a super hottie where she tucked it in. She did it proper, and then she did multiples of them. And don't think for a second that I don't know that she's doing that on purpose, because she is.
Well, Blair always tucks. She's a queen of the tuck. She's amazing.
She is. She's
I've showed her.
I love her.
Yeah, I've showed pictures of her to people in real life, and they're all like, "Wow, she's a hot chick." And I was like, "That's not a chick. She's still physically a male." They're like, "That's a male." Yeah, that's a male. It's hard to believe.
Well, I mean, Cannibalistic over on Rumble says, the things I do to Blair. So, I mean, he/she, whatever pronouns you want to use. She has fans.
I also want to make it clear that I'm not saying that lightly, because that's personal talk. Like, I actually do feel a little bit uncomfortable saying that about her, because I do consider that to be personal talk. But it is my personal preference that I appreciate that she does do that. And I also admire her for it, because I don't have one of those. Good. The equivalent of me doing that is taking a fake one and shoving it between my legs in such a way where I know it's uncomfortable. So I can imagine that it takes something to actually do that. That's why it's not just a little bit of admiration. It's a lot of admiration, because there are a lot of people who do that. They put in all the effort to look the way that they want to look, and she has some of her own natural look, and she puts in effort, and that's why people admire her. You know, there is some of that, and I'm not shallow in saying that, because it's work too. I consider that part of her, whatever.
You know what we forgot to do?
What?
We forgot to say hi to chat.
I know, right? We're so slaggy. I mean, I basically said hi to Mash and nobody else, so I'm sorry.
You're bad. And I've managed to lose. Where the hell is my mouse?
Cannibalistic is clarifying that he's bisexual, and that is why he finds Blair unambiguously attractive, as opposed to.
Let's go to people in chat really quick before we. So I have the first person is Kieradam. Actually, the first person was me. Hello, Dr. Funkenstein's ghost. I don't know. You have to correct me.
Just calling to you.
JB's in chat. Scrolling. Of course, over on Rumble is Cannibalistic Wizard. Spud's in chat. Hello, Spud Gun. Green Badger Outdoors is in chat. Of course, Mash is in chat. Hi, Mash. Quippers is in chat, but we're going to do the full show anyway. We're not going to cut it short. How's it going, Jack? And that's everybody for now. Yeah, I mean, how do I react to Blair? I am the most masculinist, straightest person that I know. I don't know anybody who's quite as crazy, Matt. And the Emperor WR Costin is in chat too. How's it going, OG? How do I react to Blair or Eve or, someone who's trans who is still biologically intact? I think that's the word they use. I would hug Blair, put my arm around her, hug her, kiss her on the cheek, and that's as far as I would go.
Yeah.
Think that's reasonable? Does that seem reasonable to you?
I mean, I can look at Blair and find, the aesthetic appealing, but the thought of having sex with Blair is still revolting because I know that there's a penis down there and I don't want that.
Yeah. There is a lizard brain reaction for straight men to see Blair, and we all do it. We all judge by what we see. And if you just look at Blair, she looks like a hot woman. End of story.
Yeah.
So your dick is still noticing.
The only reason I watched her video is because I saw the thumbnail and oh, she's pretty. And then obviously as I watched the video, it's like, oh, that's not a she. That is a very convincing feminine appearance.
The only thing that gives Blair away to me is her voice.
Yeah.
Blair sounds like a gay man. He doesn't sound like a woman.
By watching the video, it quickly became clear that but just by the small thumbnail, like, yeah, she looks pretty. Let's watch this video. See what she's talking about.
I haven't heard anybody cheat with the voice yet where I didn't say, wait a minute, that's not a girl. Never having seen Heverdam with my own eyes. Never. Oh, I've seen Jen. She's been on face cam before the show and that kind of stuff. But I can tell that these ladies are women. There's her voice. That's, there's just something about a female voice, a woman's voice, a real woman. I'm going to get myself in trouble by saying that. But a naturally born female that I've never heard a trans person match it. I've never heard a trans person talk where I didn't, wait a minute now. That's not a female, So that's the only thing that gives her away. Otherwise, I know in my head that that's a male, but my penis doesn't know. I'll tell you that right now. I look at her, my dick's like, who's that?
Ever since Blair had the facial feminization surgery, it's even more convincing.
Yeah.
But before, if you looked closely, you could see certain masculine features in the face, which she has had surgically altered to come across far more feminine. Just your initial glance, I don't think anyone is going to pick her as transgender.
Yeah. I don't think I know anybody. I mean, her and Eve are probably the people I know who pass the most, both of them. Everybody else. The only other person, there was this girl that was, I think she was Canadian. Black hair, long black hair, down just past her shoulders. What the hell was her name? She's one of the original trans people, like 6 or 7 years ago. And she was a popular person like Blair was to talk about, but she was only popular for like a year and then she kind of faded and I haven't heard about her ever since, but she was on a podcast. I think she was on a podcast with Jordan Peterson once. And the host said, what would you call, and he named the person. And he looked at her and studied her and said, I would call her a she. But I can't remember what her name was.
No, I mean, there's not a lot of well-known transgender YouTubers, so I don't know who you might be. The only
Darren Myers?
What?
No, I don't think it would have been.
Darren Myers is the only one I can think of.
No, it's not her.
I think Ella Grant was kind of well-known back in the day, but I don't know if that's who you're talking about.
This is back when Jordan Peterson first hit the net. Because that's when I saw her. I saw her before. Like she goes back to the time of Bering. She's been around for a while, but the last time I ever saw her do a public appearance was with Jordan Peterson. I'll track it down, but she passes really well too. So
yeah, it can be done, obviously.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that on a sort of fundamental level, the thought of having sex with Blair White still revolts me because there is no getting around the fact that there's a penis there. It's like that is a deal breaker for me. It's never gonna be something I'm comfortable with.
Addie's in chat. Hey, animating. Oh, and Frosted Glass has shown up. Hello, gentlemen.
Steve Sharps is somewhat convincing.
Well, you see, I had my own response to the Christian lady, at least when I was on my boy Pat's stream. And it was just, you could tell that a lot of people who make these judgments on Blair aren't even willing to hear her out. Like, they don't know anything about her when they make these calls. They're, or they're taking a blanket statement, or they're trying to grift a little bit off of her. Because let's be real, she does have a decent sized platform on multiple platforms. But she's already in a relationship, has been for a while. It's one of those relationships where I honestly think that if she could call it marriage, she would. It's just not everybody does the ring thing right away.
The opinionated Scotsman got her name. Yeah. Maya. What's her last?
It's Maya.
Yeah, what's her last name? It's Maya.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Rudolph or something like that. I don't remember what her last name was. But that's the person, right? Black hair, shoulder length, kind of pretty. That's Hi, it's Maya, right? That's the same person?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what her last name was, though.
I don't think it's public information. I think she just goes by Hiya, it's Maya.
Okay.
But yeah, like worrying about whether or not somebody's a thirst trap when they already have a relationship is kind of dumb. That's all. That's all I had to say to that Christian lady. So, you seem like who's she gonna chase after? You're a man. She's got her own. Right? Oh, you don't have. Oh, I get it. You don't have a man, so you're kind of jealous.
So, I'm old. What does thirst trap actually mean?
Thirst trap is a picture designed to give you a boner.
Okay, is that it? That's.
I mean, there's another meaning to the word trap, but thirst trap is just a picture to get you to message the person back how pretty they are and give you a hard on, basically is what it is. But I mean, trap holds the other thing of with somebody who's
that's
trans.
why I was confused. It was like,
no,
because Jen referred to Blair as a thirst trap. And
she
like,
is.
Okay, what is that?
Yeah, she is. Because she does post pictures from time to time that are very her in a bikini or her in a tight dress or that kind of stuff. So that's very much thirst trap kind of postings.
It's basically simp bait.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Like I've never because it's actually funny because I got a bunch of responses from people on Twitter about Instagram. I don't have an Instagram. I'm just putting it out there. I don't have one. But if I were to picture a Blair White Instagram, yeah, I'd be full of her doing exactly that.
I mean, I have an Instagram account. I've never posted a single thing on it, but I did follow a bunch of whores. And then occasionally I'll get an email saying, hey, here's some posts on Instagram. It's like, very nice. And then I'll delete the email.
I opened up Google and I searched Hi, it's Maya. And I don't think that's the same person I'm thinking of now that I look at her. Because Hi, it's Maya has brown hair, shoulder length. So it's not the same, unless she changed it. But it's not the same face. The other girl has more of an Italian look to her face, darker skin.
Okay.
So it's not the same person.
No, I don't know which one you're.
Yeah, I'll track it down. I'll probably send something out on Twitter when I find out who it was. But I do remember the name Hi, it's Maya. I remember that name. Maybe that's why I got it confused.
Yeah. She used to have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Now, this girl I'm thinking about was popular with that bedroom feminist that turned into a tomboy. that was around with Christy and all that crew. She had short blonde hair. Can't remember her name either. I'm getting old, man. I can't remember names anymore. I used to be able to just right off the top of my head, man, no problem. But now I just can't remember things anymore.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, I don't remember.
I'll track it down. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I've never really in real life met anybody who's trans. I don't know anybody that I've shook hands with or, you know, seen face to face that I know. Yeah. So I don't know how to react, but I think I would try to treat her like a her, just not get too close to her. It doesn't revolt me, you know, or anything like that. I could not bring myself to have sex with a trans person because I am about as far from gay as physically possible. But it doesn't make me sick to my stomach, you know, if I'm, you know.
Like if I met Eve in person, I wouldn't be going, ew, get away from me. I'd
Cooties.
I'd treat her just like a normal person, but there would be zero chance of anything sexual happening because
right.
That's not on the cards. That's not happening.
How does that...
she would probably agree with you on that one anyway, because she's happy with her Kayla.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm just saying that in the hypothetical situation
I know.
How would that work the other way around? When a girl meets Blair, then how would you deal with that? Because you know she's packing.
It's still a thing. With all due respect, I probably wouldn't, because I respect Eve, but also I've never really had lesbian feelings towards other women. Like, in all honesty, I've watched porn and been like, I get it, but
is that almost unusual for women? It's like women are born with the bisexual gene automatically, it seems. Like just about every woman I've ever dealt with, except for my current gen right now. Like my wife had bi tendencies, never acted on them. I wouldn't let her. But the only woman I know is my gen, and she's like revolted by women that way.
I think part of that is a lie from the lesbians.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that some women can't be coerced a little bit more into it, because certainly we are a little bit more easygoing than men.
Hmm.
In that regard, we do want to fit in with the in group. But you know, the times where a woman tried to pressure me into it, and I was just like, listen, I can't lie to myself.
Hmm.
I can't lie to myself. I just can't. There are just some times where there's just no. And that's when you realize that I can't be a lesbian, you know, because for me to be a lesbian, I would literally have to lie to myself and then lie to my partner. And nothing about that screams of natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cannibalistic Wizard says, whenever Eve's on, I always ask where her doggy is. And then he says, all women are bi. You just have to figure out if it's bisexual or bipolar.
I remember that meme.
He's not going to get kicked off Twitter by saying that.
But no, like the times where I've had a woman like hit on me, I was just uncomfortable the whole time. There was nothing pleasant about it. And, you know, I had to tell her that. And the reaction is always like, oh, you're homophobic. I'm like, no, I actually really don't feel comfortable with what you're doing. If you were a man doing this, I would have just screamed rape already and dealt with it.
See, Keyboard is kind of backing me up. She says we're all a little gay. I hope she's talking about women.
No, but whenever I hear homophobia, I just think that means you're scared of things that are the same. It's like that's what homo is the prefix for. It just means same phobia. So it's like you see two things that are the same. You're like, no.
I think the worst part of it is that the times where it did happen, it shifts into gaslighting a little. So that's why I have doubts on that one. I'm not saying that there aren't more women who sway easier. That's probably true to a certain extent, but I don't think it's every woman, no.
Well, women tend to be more agreeable than men. Mm-hmm. So if you know, someone asks them to do something and they're not, you know, violently opposed to you, they're more likely to go, yeah, why not? Let's just do it.
It's somewhat societal too. If you see two girls kissing, people really don't even consider it a big deal. But you see two guys kissing, oh, I'm fucking gay. You know, it's just two girls kissing is hot. Two guys kissing is not.
But also, even if it's not like a sexual kiss, two women kissing each other is just kind of, you expect that. I mean, if you see two women like hug, give each other a kiss, and then sort of go do that, like that's just women being women. No one really thinks of that kind of open affection as out of the ordinary. Whereas two dudes doing that, it's like, what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah. I don't know. There's a certain amount of malleability. I think that two women can be talked into kissing on the lips. Try to do that with two guys. Nah, not gonna happen.
Well, so times where I could have seen myself doing that wouldn't have been for lesbian reasons. You know, like if you're thinking like high school and you're still in the mental state of being a little bit of a degenerate, that kiss between the two girls is based off of a dude. It is entirely based off of a dude because you're hoping that the lesbian kiss will get the dude excited.
Right. And it probably will.
Yeah.
Probably will.
Because it does. Not always, but that's. I can't always speak for every woman, but like, yeah, I'm sorry. They're women who try to act like they're not trying to attract attention are lying. Sometimes.
Well, I used to know a woman who, like, she would make out with other women, but it was purely for the purpose of getting the men interested in her. Like, she wasn't sexually attracted to the women. She just knew that if she made out with a woman in the middle of the club, she's going to get a lot of male attention. And that was like the whole reason for it.
Mark Earl.
I mean, yeah. Kind of boorish, but smart.
It does make it a little bit more complicated when you know that that's part of the reason that this fight has become what it is, at least when it comes to the trans community, because part of that might be some people who might be misogynists. Obviously, it's not the trans people we know, but I'm just saying some of the ones that I've seen on Twitter, some of the ones I've seen off TikTok, some of the crazy ones that are trying to peddle their crap, some of them might be misogynists. Like some of them, and I talked to Eva multiple times on this one because I was in tears from some of the shit that I was seeing being peddled. And I'm like, these seem like the kids who 4 years ago would have been the incels. Not all of them. It's just there's a good portion of them. Some of them might just be bitter gay men who transition because they hate women. And we're competition. There's that too. Men compete different from women. Fact.
Yeah.
They just do. So it's noticeable. And the women are like, I don't know what the fuck this is, and they can't keep up. And I'm like, well, you invited that in. When you were like, oh, men rape. We should teach men not to rape. So then you were like inviting them into the college side where the women are, you know, in a dress. And then not questioning that. So I'm not talking about Eve. I'm not. There is a difference. A stark one. I think some of them, I keep saying narcissism, but it's not just narcissism. I'm not a shrink. I just know they have problems that have nothing to do with being trans. But the Hershey's thing, like the spokesperson, yeah, she's a misogynist. She hates women. She hates white women because she's woke. I am tired of that. And I'm going to stand with the Walshes and just be like, fuck you. You're not a good person. I don't want you near my kids. You're a vile. And you have a hate bone for everyone. Everyone.
I think I'm kind of liberal in that perspective, though, because I feel the same way I think you do, is where you can do what you want. I really don't care. Just stay away from the kids, okay? Like I have no dog in the show here. I don't have any kids, never going to have any kids, don't want to have kids. But it's still wrong. I could still look at it objectively and say, that's a wrong thing to do. You know, even though it doesn't impact me, I think legislation should be involved. And if you're looking at what's happening in the states, there are states in the union who are passing laws saying you can't touch somebody's genitals that's not 18 years old. So
And-
we're just not going to allow you to transition children anymore. That's end of story. We're just not going to let you do it. Like 8 states now.
Good.
Yeah.
And I am going to agree with you on this one, because this is something that even Eve pointed out. It is a little bit different when you're talking to someone who is an adult and has actually gone through the process of going through the shrink, has tried to do other things, has done everything else, and this is the only thing that helps them. Yeah, that person has already made those decisions. And the only thing that I might disagree with her on is how it's being paid for. You know, she paid for her own shit. So clearly it's possible for somebody to pay for their own shit. And I'm not afraid of or opposed to someone doing a GoFundMe if they need assistance, because that's community helping out a friend. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with jurisdiction paying for that kind of stuff, because the minute you take government money and you're taking money from a free flow, they're going to have people pushing it for exactly the same reasons that they are. And it's not for genuine ones. You know, because I do think that they're pushing this solution on people where I don't think it was necessary for them to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm saying this as somebody who's been listening and talking to other people who are trans, who are like, I didn't do any of that stuff. I had to go through a whole lot of different things to make sure that, you know, so it looks like a lot of people are being rushed. I'm not a medical professional either, but that looks like a bad idea to just rush people. So, you know, my feelings in terms of an adult is, yeah, you should do your own thing. But if I was your friend, I would recommend that you take all the steps first, just to make sure that you are making the right decisions. Because once you make that decision, you're going to fuck yourself up if you change your mind afterwards.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of take-backs when it comes to this stuff.
So that's where I'm at. But, you know, like, you know, Kayla and Eve, they're adults. They dealt with it for 10 years before, you know, like I don't know how old she was, but, you know, old enough to know what she wanted to do. Children, on the other hand, some of those kids might just be, I'm sorry, I'm pulling a Harry Potter joke, but some of them might be autistic. Okay. Sorry.
No, I agree.
And that scares me because, you know, I had learning disabilities. I had issues growing up. I was in the crowd of hating myself because I was depressed all the time. Yeah, they would have cut my tits off.
Yeah.
I like my tits, by the way. Now
It's
that
scary.
I have them and I'm fully grown, I like my tits.
What do I say? What do I say? Do I agree with you? Then I look like a creep.
Well,
What do I say?
The only thing to do is to request a picture of them, so you may make an informed analysis of whether you agree or not.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that's going to happen. And Zen's way too smart for that.
No, I don't want that reputation on the internet. But no, I'm just saying that, like, if I'd cut mine off, I would definitely have regrets, because I would know that I could enjoy them later, you know?
No, but there are a lot of detransitioners who very deeply regret the changes that they made. Like, I remember there was one article where they were actually, she misses her breasts and the fact that she can never have
Natural.
her original breasts back, because
Yeah.
you know, they're sitting in some you know, medical waste bin.
Yeah, they're long gone. The only thing she can do is get implants to give her the feeling back of having lumps to look down at, but it's still not.
They can give her fake ones, but they're obviously not anywhere close to having her actual breasts.
To be honest with you, when they remove the breast, they remove skin too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, then now you're talking about trying to stretch the skin back out to accommodate breasts again, and you know that's got to be painful. And you know, it's still going to leave the marks. The marks are still going to be there, even if you have the bumps. You still can't show anybody because there's going to be big marks going across your chest. You know.
Well, you're just talking about the stuff that they do for the chest. They don't even tell you about what they do if they decide to construct a penis for you, because I've seen pictures of people's forearms. That's disgusting. You know, so yeah, they're going to take your skin from somewhere else to fix the shit that you got rid of.
Yeah, they take it from your forearm.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some pictures of people who've had skin removed from their forearm to make a penis, and man, their forearm is just totally wrecked. It's totally wrecked.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It looks like
Yes.
the forearm after the Terminator pulls his arm off. It just looks awful. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the next 10 years because this isn't going to be a slow study, it's going to be a fast one.
they say that by 2030, 50% of women will be single.
That
Mhm.
sounds about right.
The way it's going right now, because we've been on a steady decline of men and women dating each other. It's not just men who are incels anymore. Now women are too. I think MGTOW has
a lot
taken
of that
off.
is because men are just terrified of getting
Yeah.
accused of something if they're within
Absolutely.
a 5-mile radius of a member of the opposite sex.
MGTOW has exploded. Then you also have passport bros is now a big thing. People are moving to Japan, staying there and getting married and not coming back.
Hmm.
You know, that kind of thing. Thailand, Barbados, Brazil, guys are moving there and staying there because the women there. This guy did a video of him landing in Thailand, and he's just walking down the street with his camera pointing at him, and women are approaching him on the street.
Well, Thai women, so you have that question mark.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of what do they call them, femboys or whatever,
Lady boys. Yeah.
lady boys. But unless they're doing a fantastic job, these women look like women.
Yeah,
I know lady boys do have just you don't really see many voluptuous lady boys is what I'm saying, and these women
no,
were
of
just
course not.
these women were very voluptuous women, but they're just walking up to him and talking to him out of nowhere. They're just putting their arms around him and saying, "Hey, how you doing?" and just approaching him like a man would approach a woman. The women were approaching.
Yeah, because they figure if he can afford a trip to Thailand, he's got money.
Probably. There's a channel I was watching. The girl was Filipino. She was a Philippine girl. I can't remember the name of the channel, but she addressed the whole thing with the passport bros because apparently the Philippines is also a big place for
Yes.
American men to land. And she says that she's very upset with the way women portray passport bros. And she says, you might not understand what I'm talking about, but if you listen to American women talk about passport bros, they say that the reason that they're coming here is because the women are desperate and they want money and they're uneducated. And she says, that's bullshit. If you look at the amount of education in the Philippines, we're higher than the U.S. on the listing because I think the Philippines is like 9 and the United States is like 14. There's more educated women in the Philippines than there are in the States. Is how can you sit there and call us uneducated and desperate when we have better schooling than you do? You know, she was very upset about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand why.
Yeah.
The other thing that that people forget about the Philippines, and a lot of these men might actually be going there for that reason too, is they're also still Christian.
Yes, they are. Did you know that the Philippines has a constitution like the United States? It's the only other country that has a constitution almost identical to the United States. They have a first, second, third, fourth, fifth amendment, same exact thing, and most of the wording is the same. They basically adopted ours. I was stunned when I found that out.
Just from chat because it made me laugh. I think it was Spudgun said the procedure is called a strapodictomy.
Like times up here where I've encountered those relationships, it was really like men who were Christian seeking out other Christians, in all honesty, because their families kind of click pretty good. Like their family, like Philippines have huge family structures. They're Asian, like Asians, you know, so they have long, big families. So, you know, when you know that you're going Christian, you kind of want to get along with everybody. And they do, you know, they're they're kind of like that. Like, you better get along with this one, you know, because you got a big family going to come after you if you don't. But they're really nice people, though. When I used to have Facebook, I had more Filipinos on my Facebook than I did white people, because every coworker I had was like, "You need to come to the Philippines. We're gonna feed you." They always want to feed me. And then my friend Mr. Floyd told me, "Actually, don't come, because they'll kidnap you and hold you hostage because you look like you would be worth money." I'm like, they're gonna lose out because I'm Canadian. I'm worth Canadian dollars.
Spud Gun says, thing is, most Eastern women are still fucking trad. Not like the West, which has gone to hell in a handcart. I need to move that text closer so I can read it. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be mostly in the States, but I guess to some extent it's everywhere in the West. The women are just, I don't know, it's a arrogance and entitlement, you know?
Well, I mean, it's the subversion of the countries that the what's his face Yuri Bezmenov was talking about in the 80s is like the propaganda and like deliberate like undermining of traditional values and replacing them with nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, feminist studies or you know,
the nuclear family is definitely
black women's history or whatever you want to.
Yeah, the nuclear family is definitely under attack.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
it has been for a while.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. The whole point of feminism is so that the government can extract 2 sets of taxes from the house instead of 1.
Yes.
If you get both of them working, then they're both contributing taxes. The government gets more money.
So this was a story from a long time ago. It was one of those ones where I can't remember if I heard it from Lords of the Night or when it was the Ghost Poo. Yeah, Ghost Poo, because when Alex was on that one. But it had to do with teachers trying to convince kids that having best friends wasn't necessarily a good thing. Like, you shouldn't have best friends in school. And I don't know if that was up here, like it was an article from up here. But they were discouraging kids from having best friends. And it was one of those like very communist type style things. Like, you can have friends, but don't have best friends because that excludes other kids. And that's like bullying.
Yeah, that's woke agenda. That's definitely the woke agenda.
You know, so it's gone from that to like your families. And I mean, obviously they were going to go after your kids because they don't want family units in communism.
Right, because the family unit is a very powerful thing. And they don't want that powerful thing to be in their way. So they'll try to destroy it.
Well, they want your loyalty to be to the country or the state, not to your family.
Right. Right. And they're winning. If you look at the state of the nuclear family today.
Oh, yeah.
I really think a lot of it's feminism, to be honest with you. I put a lot of blame on feminism.
It is. It is, and I do too. It's like when you get to like say this week was amazing for people finally calling out Jeffrey Marsh for being a fucking weirdo. You know, because
so creepy.
Because somebody went on to his Patreon, like the Muslim lady who's kind of a hero in my eyes. I don't want to sling shit at her for being different from me. I acknowledge that she's different from me. But the thing that we have in common is that Jeffrey Marsh is bad for children because he speaks with all the terminology of a groomer. And it's not because he's trans that I'm calling him a groomer. It's because he's step by step using groomer tactics to get the kids away from their parents, convince them to distance them from their parents, make contact with them, and he's doing all the things that makes me feel like I'm looking at a Jeffrey Dahmer who's chasing after children in front of you and getting off on it because he knows exactly what he's doing. And then you're going to conflate that with my Eve or my Blair White. You can all go fuck yourselves. They're separate things.
Jeffrey Marsh just reminds me of the phrase, "You can put lipstick on a pig."
You're not wrong.
Like, there is no way anyone would ever mistake Jeffrey Marsh for a female. It's like that is a guy in lipstick and a dress. There is like zero effort to actually look feminine in the slightest. He doesn't even shave.
Nope.
But it's this constant gaslighting that I'm not supposed to notice this kind of shit. And then they keep inviting more of it. And if I call it out, I'm a white supremacist or I hate trans people. Oh no, you can go fuck yourself. If you think a trans person is diddling kids and that's the person that you're cheering for, then you can both go to jail. Because the trans people I follow don't do any of that shit. And they would beat the fuck out of you if they knew you were. I guarantee you Eve would take you out back and beat the shit out of you, okay? Just saying. I love her. Well, actually, she's got guns, so maybe she'd just shoot you. But still, I'm just saying I'm tired of this conflation. And my first boss was a queen. And that's maybe why I'm a little bit more open to the idea of a Blair White, because he was fantastic too. But you know what? He didn't make me feel uncomfortable. He didn't make me feel like shit because I was a woman and he wasn't. You know, he just wanted to live his life with his husband because he wanted to be married and he wanted the right to be married. And I get maybe some people think there should be a different name, and he was even for that because it was about the partnership. It was also about the legal stuff that comes with being a partner, because that's the other thing that's wrong with being married in North America. And I kind of agree. I think it was Monkey coined it, or I can't remember who coined it. Maybe it was Mitch. But the government shouldn't be in control of that. They shouldn't be.
There was a teacher that I had when I was in the 4th grade. Realized that we're going back, 50 plus years. I had a teacher in 4th grade who was clearly gay. Mm-hmm. Not flaming, not fantastic, not that kind of guy. But he did have, you can hear it in his voice, a certain lilt in his voice and a certain movement, a certain, shall we say, sachet in his step that you knew he was gay. And that's 50 years ago, a gay teacher in grade school, and nobody seemed to have a problem with him back then. Uh-oh. They're coming to take us away, ho-ho.
I know, right?
No, I just like the idea. I like the idea. You said no one had a problem with that. Sirens in the background.
FBI, open up! Yeah, so, then you have somebody like him who is clearly grooming kids.
Oh, absolutely.
And how do you stop that? How do you can't just take him out because he's trans or gay. He has to do something overt, and just telling kids, well, keep this from your parents. It's grooming behavior, but there's no law. You can't charge him with anything, No. So what do you do? How do you fight that?
I think he should be kicked off the platform ideally, but that's up to what TikTok or whoever to do. And
they need to get rid of TikTok in its entirety. TikTok needs to vanish from the planet.
And I say that, and I agree with you. I say that knowing that I have friends who enjoy TikTok, and it's not that. I wish that platform didn't have what it has. And I'm not saying that like I don't know the other platforms don't have it too. But we all went to war with the YouTube side that was hiding the child pedos that are probably still there. But I know for a fact that everyone was like, oh, no, fuck you. We will find out who you are and call you out for it. It's the only thing we can do, but we're going to call you out for it because it's disgusting and stop doing it. And I was like, what? Like every other year I would see the cause of the YouTubers going after the pedos because we don't like pedos either. Twitter was different because, well, there's a lot of tangles in Twitter that I think Elon has to work on. Whether he is or not, I don't know. But he seems to think he is. So, you know, go have at her, sir.
Assassin makes me laugh. At Hammer. Frontier Justice in caps. Makes me laugh. Yeah, I don't know. How do you legislate grooming behavior? I mean, it's so esoteric. We can all see it. We know what it is when we see it, but how do you legislate it? You really can't. And TikTok is basically a Chinese mind virus. It helps promote woke culture. I don't think we would be nearly as bad shape as we are now if TikTok wasn't part of the influence.
Well, I mean, when you put it to the way that China doesn't even allow TikTok in their own country.
They don't allow our version of TikTok. They have TikTok there, but it's all science and education. It's not a bunch of people who are bouncing their tits on this. Yeah, it's actually useful. It's not a bunch of, blonde chicks bouncing their tits on the screen. It's not the same thing. So,
which should tell you everything.
Yeah. Well, we kind of covered the topics. International Women's Day. Today is International Women's Day. What do you say besides that? That they awarded a trans person a award today as being outstanding on International Women's Day. They gave it an award to a trans person, a male.
Well, I think it's long been established that men are better at being women than women are. I think we just have to accept it that at this point, this is just another thing men are better at.
I say that from time to time to natural women, just to see if it makes them as angry as it does me. We could do everything you can do. We're even better at being women. I don't know. Maybe just to rile you up a little bit. I think everyone knows me well enough that I'm just joking around, but from time to time it makes me kind of laugh. Like, geez, can't women have anything? They can't have sports. They can't have their gender. They can't have anything. Men take everything from them. It's like, Jesus. Now we're taking their whole identity and putting it on like a skin suit, like Wild Bill or something, It puts the skin on its arms.
Yeah, I feel some level of guilt, probably because, like Morgan Freeman, I forget about Morgan Freeman. I forget about things like Women's Day because I'm like, why? Okay, listen, it's not about needing more than a day. I just think it's full of shit because I've been women have been walking alongside men since the existence of probably apes and before that. Sorry, but there's always been women. It's not necessary. I think it's nice to appreciate ourselves, it's nice to appreciate men exist too and all that crap, but they focus on shallow shit. And so it's easy to forget that there's a day that they're going to designate to like the most shallow shit that's supposed to represent myself. And that's basically what Faye Johnson is. All the shallow shit that's supposed to represent a woman. Sorry, I just don't see it as something that I pay attention to. And maybe that's part of the reason why the trans community that's activists are taking so many spaces that are women's. And it's not because I don't care about the sports. I do. Not because I care about the sports, but because those girls aren't wrong when they say that a man dropping his pants in a girl's room would have been considered illegal 3 years ago. But now it's fully okay.
That's because we were bigots 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was calling that shit out because like when the feminists were like, oh, we need to teach men to rape. But then it kind of sounded like they were gaslighting teenage girls and girls in college to accept a penis if it came with the skirt. That I was like, oh, you are peddling the wrong tube because I probably do have a gaydar. Like I said, I've known people from the gay community probably since I was 18. My first boss, gay queen. I'm just saying that he was part of the community that was against the pedos being in the community. He was one of the guys who was like always telling me that they've fought for years to get rid of that label. That, somebody could, in fact, invite him to meet their kid and he wouldn't give a shit because he doesn't want children. He's happy to have a husband, and have a dog. He likes kids long enough to be like, yeah, they're cute and then move on. he doesn't want to be labeled as a pedo for something he ain't gonna do. You know, and so the fact that they've just let that in, that lets me know that that's either somebody above, that's part of Hollywood. This is the pedo crowd from Epstein's Island in action, trying to convince me that should be allowed, or that women should accept gaslighting. And I'm not saying some women out there wouldn't go for a tranny dick, because some women are open to love, but you can't coerce someone into it, because that's called rape.
Yeah.
No, it's called transgender rights.
Yeah.
Right?
Whenever you mention that phrase, "teach men not to rape," because I've heard that many, many times from feminists, it always makes me laugh, because Ben Shapiro took that phrase head on. And he specifically, I remember what school he was at. He said, you know, if I had to take my son and set him down and say, "Son, don't rape," he says, "I got bigger problems on my plate than anything else." So it's not like men have to be taught.
I know.
Yeah. Always makes me laugh when I hear it.
But you know where I'm coming from, because it's the contradiction of it. You know, it's the bringing up a situation that they really gave no shits about whether or not girls in college were actually getting raped. They just want to use that as an excuse to create boundaries that men now have to bounce over to make them happy, when the frustration is that I'd like women to be a little bit more independent, not because we don't need the help from men, but if you're going to whine about shit, then fix it yourself a little, you know, and then stop bringing in more problems that you don't need, and stop bringing on problems that aren't your own, because that's kind of part of a problem. You know, I think some women were trying to fix the problems of trans women, and then they invited in problems that weren't their own. That is not to be ignorant or to show a lack of love to trans people. I think that's the thing where it's different when you're friends with somebody and you're showing support to your friend. It's always different when you do that. You're going to be more passionate about it. Yeah, it's going to be okay, but I think some women are going to have to figure out, you know, why being American is good, and that's because you can own a gun. Learn how to protect yourself, women.
I think we're getting to the point where there's only a few of our countries left that are in the West that are still allowed to do that, because nothing overseas is allowed, as far as I know, and now Canada's not allowed. So we're, you know,
enjoy it while you still got it, because
Australia's not allowed. I don't know if we ain't got many left, do we?
In Canada, you're not even allowed to get sick, because they'll just
they'll just kill you.
Your head.
Well, I'm keeping an eye, but the stream is acting a little funky, and it's after 10 o'clock. You guys have anything else you want to bring up, or maybe we should get out of here before the entire stream?
Gunsky's been here for a while, so I mean,
yeah, our good luck charm. Yeah, I want to get out of here before the stream goes down entirely. It's acting kind of weird. You can see it. The line isn't straight like it normally is. It's all waving all over the place. It just started about 5 minutes ago. Everything's still working, but I'm a little concerned, so maybe we should just skedaddle. What do you think?
I agree, but I'm gonna put a rumor out there, because I haven't checked into it yet. But it kind of looks like Steven Crowder is quitting YouTube, and it looks like he's gonna shift all his stuff to Rumble. Cool. So you guys should follow us on Rumble. I don't know that that's gonna mean a big thing, but he is a big YouTuber, so I could see some people, going with him.
You know, that's kind of a thing with me with Rumble. I don't see any reason to not use it, I mean, as people move over there, the rest of the world's going to move with them. It's just a matter of time. YouTube's going to become MySpace. You know, it's going to be GeoCities. People are just it's going to die a slow death. People are just going to move off. They're tired of, now, granted, Susan WikiWiki is gone, but we don't know this new guy, this Neil guy. We don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to change anything. If anything, it's going to get worse.
Of course not.
So,
no one who works at Google is going to have the mindset to walk back all the woke nonsense that YouTube is filled with.
Yeah, the over censorious nature of YouTube is the real problem.
Yeah, that's not going away.
I also don't want to base this one off of rumor, but everything that I've heard about the guy is he's probably more woke than she is, if
Right.
not as more. So I'll give him the time it takes to see what Rumble's gonna do to decide if I want to stay. I'll give you the shot, but man, it doesn't look good because within the last week they got it Scribe, and he did his stream, so I recommend watching that because I don't describe that one well, but I was still like, Saudi Arabia, huh? You can't tell that that's that's a fake VPN or something like.
Yeah, I'm liking Rumble. I'll tell you, I'm glad I entered. I'm running a show to it.
I gotta get used to reading the Rumble chat that's on the screen because Cannibalistic Wizard has been making comments that have been unaddressed. But
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it. I've been keeping an eye on them. So that's the whole process still needs a little tweaking because the way they do it is not the same as YouTube. They still give you a URL link, which is nice. They didn't used to do that, so they've even gotten that far. But they build the screen from the top down instead of from the bottom up. With YouTube, if you put a chat in, it shows at the bottom, and as new chats go on, it scrolls up the screen. That's not how it works over in Rumble. Rumble starts at the top and works its way down until it gets to the point where it starts rolling. So I have to futz with it to make it work properly, but I'll get there. At least I got something on the screen. We can see what Cannibalistic Wizard is saying. So we're making baby steps here. Baby steps. I got to change the font. I got to make the background transparent. I got a lot of work to do. We'll see if I get around to doing any of it. Probably not. All right. Well, unless you guys have something else, I'm going to get out of here. No?
Nope, that was it. I just thought that was interesting.
All right. That's great. Well, let me do my outro real quick and we'll get out of here. Thanks, fam, as always, for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next Wednesday show, remember the Minions are live every evening, including in weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Post and start times are linked in the description down below. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. Hope everyone enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.